Tavleen, I think I must start with you. Here on the ground, the police contests the parallels that are being drawn with Bhindranwale. They say that Amritpal Singh has neither the capacity nor the determination nor even the oratory or the charisma. He's after all run away, as they point out. Even so, what's happening is really worrying. Does this give you a horrible sense of deja vu? And what are the questions upmost on your mind, Tavleen?
Well, to tell you the truth, I'm going to say something that's going to sound very controversial. I think that they should be talking to him. I think that he's given only one interview, which I listened to, and he was actually sounding a lot more reasonable than Bhindranwale ever did. He said, I am trying to get the Jat Sikh youth to go away from the drugs business. And he said, I'm trying to revive the Khalsa. Now, this thing that you're calling an army and a militia and all that, it might just be the normal kind of, he might just be trying to get guys to be aware of what it means to be a Khalsa. Now, I actually think that the biggest mistake that was made in the handling of Bhindranwale was that nobody tried to talk to him. And it was a very similar situation. There was a vacuum. The Akali Dal leadership was discredited. The Congress party was discredited. And there was a sense that, a vacuum that Bhindranwale filled. And nobody talked to him.
Can I come in just to say...
Nobody talking to this man.
Can I just come in and say, you know Punjab better than I do, but I have to disagree for a couple of reasons. One, he spoke to my colleague Zafar Iqbal, and, so many of his comments were so inflammatory, we actually made the editorial decision to leave out some of them, the language he used in support of Palestine and so on. Secondly, if we can play the images again of what happened in London today at a High Commission, you saw the flag being desecrated. You've seen the Khalistanis come out of the woodworks in both Canada and the United Kingdom. If this guy is someone without backing, without any international linkages, you wouldn't see these groups jumping to his defense. He's not some misguided youth, Tavleen, in the way that I think you're suggesting.
Oh, I'm not suggesting that he's a misguided youth. I think he knows exactly what he's doing. But I really want to remind you that there was no Khalistan support until the attack on the Golden Temple. Until then, Bhindranwale was sort of making noises and saying stupid things and, insulting people, etc. And this man seems to be more likely to be somebody that you can talk to and say, okay, what do you want? Now, he has said, I don't want Khalistan, but I want to, if you can talk about the Hindu Rashtra, we can talk about Khalistan. Maybe what he's asking for is something we need to find out before we start labeling him an ISI agent. Suddenly, overnight, everyone's discovered that he has links to the ISI. Pakistan's exploding. The army is busy trying to control Imran Khan. Do we seriously believe that they're going to try reviving the Khalistan movement at this point? I don't think that that's possible.
Well, you said your remarks are controversial, and they indeed are. I'm not sure, how many people on this panel would agree with you, but let's open it up. I do disagree. I find the rhetoric on the ground extremely alarming and disturbing. They conflate all kinds of issues that they have with the government, of course, to talk about Khalistan, but the rhetoric is dangerous. This has now traveled beyond India's shores. This is a two-front battle, Sherbir. This is a battle within. This is a battle now outside. And then there are questions for the police. But I think, as SP Vaid pointed out, damned if they do, damned if they don't. A lot of the police officers I've been meeting here saying they felt their hands were tied in Ajnala. There's also dramatic footage caught on CCTV of a 25-kilometer car chase. We now know there were 5 cars that Amritpal and his aides were traveling in. The last one seized is a Mercedes SUV. It's being linked, in fact, to a drugs cartel. His uncle and his driver, who were last seen with him, have surrendered. But he is on the run in the 5th car. Now, the police is saying, hum kare to hame gali, hum na kare to hame gali. Sherbir, how do you see what's happened thus far?
Barkha, first and foremost, let me start out by saying that I disagree with Ms. Tavleen Singh's assessment. Of course, goes without saying that one has a lot of regard and respect for her. Amritpal has not just given one interview. He has several interviews, and in fact, he's been interviewed by every Tom, Dick, and Harry after the Ajnala incident. He has nothing in these interviews. I don't know which interview Ms. Singh had a chance to view, but nothing in the rest of the interviews comes across as anybody who's willing to talk. He has contorted views of comparing how Mahatma Gandhi had a British passport and therefore he has an Indian passport. He has no idea about the constitution, rule of law, etc., etc. And his communication in terms of Khalistan is very, very clear. The moment he gets asked a tough question, he quickly obfuscates it and starts spinning it around and calling it Amrit Prachar and Amrit Sanchar. So that's where he's, and even when he was asked straight questions about bringing the Sri Guru Granth Sahib to Ajnala, he basically just spun those questions around and didn't give straight answers and gave rhetorical responses back to most of the reporters who, unfortunately, due to their probably lack of knowledge of Punjab, weren't able to really cross-question him, including making ridiculous statements about how there is no Gurmukhi with respect to the railway station in Amritsar, etc., etc. So that's just putting him aside. My assessment of Amritpal is a charlatan who is claiming to speak on behalf of a majority of Sikhs in Punjab and does not have the ground resonance folks believe he has. He's a small-time criminal thug who was a digital media creation, came out of the sort of Deep Sidhu narrative, took over Waris Punjab. There's a lot of controversy associated with whether he was in touch with Deep Sidhu. There are reports which suggest that Deep Sidhu in fact blocked him, leaving aside, Barkha Yor and my views on Deep Sidhu, which are public and very, very well known. So there's a controversial element there. He was a digital creation. He didn't spin out of nowhere. He's been around for a while, but Ajnala was his crowning glory. And the fact of the matter is, no matter which way we slice it, dice it, and try and give excuses for what the police action is, the fact of the matter is the Punjab police capitulated at Ajnala. There was no question of allowing this small-time thug to come out, negotiate with the police in this manner, and allow for the police to sort of release his close aid by claiming evidence was given. There are proper legal processes for evidence, and coming and surrounding a police station and barging in with.
What about the fact that the police say that given that he carried the Granth Sahib as a shield, it became a very complicated situation for them.
It was complicated, Barkha, but the incident came to a close. They didn't have to go after by the time the issue of the statements that had to be released came out, were released out at a separate place. Arrests could have been made much faster. And this brings me to the next point regarding Bedvi. I was in Ajnala the very next day and in Amritsar to go and actually see what the ground sentiment was. And the ground sentiment was there was very little ground support on the point that he brought the Sri Guru Granth Sahib with him to the Ajnala police station and tried to use it as a prop in a cowardly manner. Over and above that, this is close on the heels of Amritpal supporters breaking down chairs and benches in gurdwaras for the elderly to sit, calling that Bedvi. So there was a sentiment against him. There is a sentiment pro him. There's no denying that. But there was a moment, and we acted too late.
Let me just
think to sort of bring this into context, we should have acted against him sooner. The center and state had to have come together. His level of support and his meteoric rise out of nowhere could not have been merely a ground-swelled movement. There is evidently, Pakistan may be starving, but Pakistan will not lose an opportunity to have intelligence operations against India.
And can I just bring in Tavleen, because she has her hand up?
Can I just conclude 2 points, Barkha? So I think that's really, really important to bring out in terms of where his backing is coming from, and over and above the fact that we have a diaspora that unfortunately over a period of time has taken myths and historic and concocted figures and passed them on for fact. And now we're looking at a generation after 1984 who started believing them as the gospel truth, which also fuels this challenge and brings it about and adds to the complication.